Hey yo, it's Guido coming at you with a tactics talk. Welcome back and thanks for tuning in. And I've got an opposing view for you right here. We got Deathman. We'll watch him first. He's in a Centurion 7-1. And if you take a look at the enemy lineup, there's a guy named Guido 1212 on the other side in his GSOR Tier 9 Brit Light. But we got Deathman. He comes up here and he right away finds a Scorpion G. And I was going to say punishes him, but he actually only gets crit damage. And the Batchat 25T takes a shot from up on the top. And it looks like Deathman backs out of that. And he's moving back down here. Got the Batchat up on the edge. 50 TP. And here comes Deathman poking up over here, taking a look. Quite a few guys over on the west side. And Deathman moves up into this and gets lit. Gets lit and he's kind of hanging out. Sees the Scorpion G coming up. Gets a shot on that guy and backs out. Doesn't take any damage. Backs down. And doesn't seem to be anybody in front of him right there. Not that he can see anyway. Seems like if he'd got that close, he'd have noted that. And boom, takes a hit from the Batchat 25 TAP. Takes another hit from that guy. Autoloader manages a nice little wiggle and a bounce. And is able to back up out of there. And gets down the hill. ST1 is kind of pushing in. Looks like he's just going to flex over and not get shot from the hill. So he heads over this away. ST1 goes down. It's a good kill for his team. Come over here where his strength is. There are some guys on the hill. There's still a 50 TP in the middle. I think I'd have stayed in the middle, Deathman. But been careful about getting spotted. The Hawk is moving in. Leopard takes a shot and bounces, looks like off the turret or maybe the angled armor. Gets a little bit lucky right there. And that Leopard is back on that little perch there. We'll see that Leopard a little while later. A big arty shot goes in. And the Hawk 12 is raging around. Another shot from the Leopard PTA, who clearly has a shot on you right there. And Deathman backs down. Probably a good move to get out of there. And only 3 enemies have been lit so far. The Leopard, the Scorpion, and one guy, the Batchat, I believe. So he swings back over this way, going to head back towards the middle. We've got 300 damage, block some, and only have 700 hit points left. He heads back over to the middle to see what's going on. Finally, we get some more lights. We got a Carnarvon out, kind of out in the middle. So Deathman's going to take a chance. He's going to come up here and look for a shot on this guy. This guy's made a really bad move. But Deathman takes a big hit from the Leopard, and all of a sudden we're down to our last hit. Most everything there, minus even the, well, maybe the LHMTV with a really high roll. Maybe not even a very high roll. So just about anything is going to one-shot Deathman here. So he's going to come up and look for a shot on this Lurva. And then he's got a shot potentially on the Pershing. Takes a shot. Nothing happens. A little bit rushed, perhaps. And that's the good spot for them to be right there. Oh, just backed up right when you fired. It's a little bit of a divot right there. And you'll notice that Deathman's team is running away. Look at the hit points they have left there. Not very many. So they had a really hard time up on that hill. We'll get to that later. Deathman backing around and kind of bailing out of this area. They've lost the hill, so he does have to be careful. Getting lit. The low's coming off the hill. The Lurva. Looking for that little shot. Maybe sneak one in. Looks like there's a big building in the way, but the Hawk takes a hit. Unfortunately gets lit. That was very foolish of him to go up there looking for that shot. He backs out. And now Deathman is fading back and trying to get out of there. Looks like he's going to head over this way and try to stem the bleeding over on the east side. The Progetto has run into the pit. He's trying to get away. His buddy, the AMX-30, died. They do kill the Batchat off, so good on them there. And we've got all kinds of guys sitting up on this little perch right here, which is okay if you don't get lit, but it is extremely exposed if you do get lit, especially from that middle. That Suma gets up and over, or if that 50 TP dies and they lose control of the 5-6 line there, they're in big trouble sitting up on this little ridge right here. Looks like Deathman's going to fall back. He's getting out of there. And it's not really going badly for them. It's just map control is not great right now. Looks like they got a bit of a win going on, but now we're down to 4 to 5, so pretty even. Deathman's going to fall back. A lot of his tanks are sitting on that ridge over there. And again, the 50 TP dies right there. They've got big trouble. So I think Deathman sees that. He bails out of that position. The only problem with being here is it's a bit passive. You're kind of waiting for them to come up and over. And if they do get up and over, the Tiger 1 is probably dead as well as the 53 TP. But this guy's taking a couple looks. There are some artillery. It's interesting that they really haven't pounded him. He's probably going to get their attention pretty quick. Yeah, some artillery is about ready to pound on him. And there's Guido. There's the first sighting of me. He takes a shot at me. That's rude. Artillery hits me. I'll move on. We'll get to my replay in just a minute. Suma's coming up and over. Nice shot right into his side. Really wants to sell out and kill that 50 TP, but he lost a lot of hit points for doing that. In fact, he loses most of his hit points. All of a sudden, we've got the Scorpion G again showing up. Nice shot right there. And Deathman's doing a pretty good. He actually gets spotted in there, and I'm not 100% sure how. Oh, look at that, Guido. GSOR is hanging out right there with some pretty darn good spotting. Deathman's moving here, trying to keep these guys. I'll notice that their 53 TP and Tiger 2 are getting beat up right here. Bounces off of the Pershing. There's a hit that goes into them, and they're both down to about a one shot. And then the T-95 just comes over. But a nice shot right into the top of the T-95. Lights him on fire. And I will say that I was watching all of this happen as this, and I did not notice it was Deathman, but I was watching as all these shots were going in, and the guys that were over there were just tearing us up, and he dropped a lot of damage on us. It took us a lot of effort to get rid of those two tanks right there. Deathman's going to move up a little bit. Looks like he feels like he's got a decent advantage. Gets into the bush. There's a Pershing, and then there's me over there. There's the Suma that's near dead. I'll come up and over. I'll dive down. Not really sure why he didn't take a shot. I guess he just didn't want to get spotted right there. So I'm going to rage around. A shot goes in. I'm not sure where that came from, if that was just an errant shot from somewhere else. Pershing is still sitting in there. You'll see that I've flexed over to that middle ridge. I try to get up into that little bush there, but get spotted. I'll be honest with you, I'm not really sure how. I'm assuming the TVP had an angle on me right there. In fact, I didn't know the TVP was over on that side there. I knew there were several tanks over here. And now Deathman, you know, his team's got, they're okay. They're losing by a little bit, but they're in a pretty strong defensive position. This is one of the harder places to crack in the game for sure, when you've got a competent team hanging out here. So the scout, my scout, is probably the most valuable piece on the board right now for my team. So I'm over there. We'll get to my replay in a minute as I'm moving around trying to figure out how to get in here and get these guys lit. So I've been gone for a while. He's looking at that bush, figuring maybe he finally figured a way into that bush. But he didn't get lit, so even if I did, it doesn't matter, at least for the moment. And there's a bit of the cat and mouse game going on right now. I'm moving all over the place down there, trying to figure out how to get in and up under the guns here to get some lights. I know the Suma's near dead. The Leopard's been camping in the same spot. He's not much use where he is. The TS5 is now moving down to the south, starting to push the Leopard. And I know I've got the Pershing up there in the A6 area, and all of a sudden he gets lit. And this one kind of blew my mind when I saw it happening. He breaks cover for whatever dopey reason and gets punished by Deathman, who takes him down. And there's Guido. So I come in, and unfortunately I make a big mistake there. The TS5 will see it. The TS5 gets a hold of me, tracks me, then hits me, and down I go from the E50, and I am out of the game. So now let's watch what happens here, because my team ends up winning this without me. Suma comes in. The Rev is up top. I think you had a shot on the Rev at one point there. TS5 is near dead. The Leopard gets lit. Now, my team does have 2 artillery, so the last thing they want to do is get lit. And a couple of their guys have kind of low hit points. Doesn't quite get the shot on the Suma, but he does have a GW Tiger P. So the Suma is definitely a guy that he can splash out pretty easily. I've talked about this particular phase on this map multiple times. Probably their best bet would have been all to push the Leopard PTA. Just push at him and ignore these guys over here. Down goes the Suma. So now they're in really good shape, 10 to 10. All their guns are together. My team's guns are a little bit spread out. Of course, he hasn't seen the T-34 yet. The Revelori, whatever it is, moves in. He's actually in that little divot right there. And I think, again, probably another opportunity just to push the Rev and take him down. So a little bit too passive here, Deathman, I think, is one of the things that kind of hurt your team's ability to win this game. There's the Rev again, and you're not really looking at him. Then there's the Leopard. So pushing one of those guys would have been a great idea, I think. You can just get a little tiny piece of him. Oh, just not quite. Not quite. That would have been a really good shot for you right there. And my team's artillery is starting to tell the tale here. As long as my spotters can stay alive. It's unfortunate that I got myself killed. I'll show you what I should have done when I get to the point where I died. But the 34 is now in the fight. He takes out the TS5. And a couple critical misses by you. Those two or three of those shots put in there, that would have killed off the Rev. And all of a sudden you're down to 3 tanks. Because I didn't even see the TVP. He raged in there and died at some point. Got lit. We'll see that on my replay maybe. And now it's you and Hondo Jack down to 1 shots plus an artillery. So probably just a little bit too timid in there. If your team had pushed, especially I think into that Leopard PTA, and we'll take a look at that in the positioning when we get to it. Oh, now the recriminations start. Now. Oh, man. It's always the arguments when things go bad. And whoa, the GW takes down the Leopard PTA who camped the entire game. That was a good kill. Which probably gave you a little bit of hope right there for sure. And then the T-34 comes in with some decent hit points. He actually finds the E-50 and takes him down. And then you get a nice shot into this guy. And here he comes. But another nice shot into him, and now you're backing out of it. And all of a sudden, the Rev sees you and takes you down. So we'll take a look at that, where he was and what happened. And then we just hunt down the artillery. So let's move over to my replay. Now the view from my side. This is the GSOR, the Tier 9 British light tank. And I'm going to credit this spot to True. I saw him do this on one of his streams. I knew this bush was here, and I knew it was a possibility, but I didn't think too hard about it because it's very difficult to use with any other scout. Either they're too big, too slow, or their camo isn't quite good enough. I looked at the enemy team, and I thought there's not a lot of really fast tanks. The Hawk 12, sorry, potentially could be an issue, but I'm going to go for it. We're going to cruise around here, and we're going to get into this little tiny sliver of a bush right here. Approach it carefully, we'll jump in, and all of a sudden I'm lighting guys up. And I'll just stop right here. Check that I'm covered. I'm completely in this bush, and I saw him use it with the Manicore. And the beauty is, and look at that, I've already seen Deathman right there. Remember when he got lit when he came up top? And I was talking about, well, it doesn't seem like anybody's on that ramp. There wasn't. There was somebody up here in this bush. So I've got the binocs cooking, and you'll see what happens here is exactly what True showed. He's got a great clip from Twitch where he predicts the future. He sees a Leopard, I believe it is, or a PTA, and he says what they'll do is they'll come up over this edge. They have a 3-second wait until their sixth sense goes off. They don't even realize they're spotted, and all your guys in the bushes annihilate them, and down went the PTA. I didn't get quite as good a result. I resist the urge to shoot, and there I am again, lighting up Deathman, who's hanging out down there. And I'm teeing him up, saying, hey, how about we fire at that guy? The AMX is taking hits, and the enemy team can't really figure it out. Look at the Progetto. He gets really, really close. That concerned me right there. I was a little bit worried, but he doesn't get quite to the 50 meters. Now we've got the 4502 poking over. Shots going in, but not really hurting them. The Hawk 12 running around the middle. That made me feel good, knowing that the Hawk 12 was in the middle. That didn't bother me right here. Now this is a great spot for this kind of thing, but at some point you're probably going to have to move, because the whole game isn't necessarily going to be won from this one bush. You do have to eventually get down into usually the northwest corner, where you see the last of the fight happen on the other replay, which we'll eventually get to. But the enemy team is not very interested in poking up and over anymore, and I don't think any of them really have a good idea how they were spotted. I think they just thought they were being spotted by the guys in the bushes back there. And I have had this happen multiple times to me, where I kept poking up about right there and went, now how on earth is somebody burning through that many? I should not be spotted. So now I know it's usually going to be somebody in this spot. And here comes the 4502. This guy, I thought he was just going to drive right up on me. I figured, well, maybe this dude knows and he's just going to sell out to find me. But he actually gets lit and backs off. And we lose our ST1. As you know, as you will see on this, we don't really do really well in this game. We eventually win it, but it's certainly not running away, a runaway win at all. Got 2,100 spotting, 2,199 spotting. And now I've got to start thinking about how I'm going to get off this hill and what's going to happen. But the cool thing is, you'll see, this was the next guy I was worried about. I thought, wow, he has to be so close to 50. But he takes a hit, and I get the spotting right there. Here comes the 4502 again. He eats another bunch, and I'm all of a sudden up to 3,100. I'm spotting the middle all day long. Those guys should have shots there. And once again, another guy just getting really close. And this is where you noticed on the other replay that the Lurva and the Pershing came up and started getting shot at by the guys in the middle right there. They're in that divot I talked about. I'll just show that. That spot is where you want to be. Do not be high. You need to be in that lowest part. You'll notice that the Lowe's turret was just barely poking up right there. I think that was an artillery shot actually there, because he got stunned. But you'll notice how fleeting the shots were for Deathman down there, because they were in that lowest part of the divot. If you're in a flat Russian medium, it's almost impossible to even get a shot. The Lurva just happens to be tall. So remember, when those two guys ran off, they'll run away and head off that way, and that makes my move now up to here possible. And it's looking good on this side. But this is the trick right here. See the Lurva just push in. There's the AMX hanging out. He's making a runner. So we'll take a shot on him. I get the spotting. We're up to 4,000. The T26E5 is out in the open. He's actually on our side of the tracks, I believe. There's when the Hawk goes up and gets hit, because he got spotted by all the guys on the hill. And now we've got the Progetto. He takes another hit from me. That's the first damage I've actually managed. I don't know if I hit the T26 earlier. He dies in a hail of bullets, and more spotting to 4,585. So I'll just pause for a minute, because there's still quite a few tanks unaccounted for. There's 3 in the middle. The Progetto I know about, and the WZ, the other Scout. So there's 2 or 3 other tanks. What, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, there's quite a few tanks unaccounted for. The TS5, probably one of the biggest ones I'm worried about. Obviously the artillery, not really counted in tanks in that case. So I'll hang out here for a minute, because I know I've got guys pushing. What I don't want to do is throw away my Scout just pushing down towards the ramp, because I figure there's going to be someone like that 53 TP. And if you remember from Deathman's video replay, there were quite a few actually stacked up over there. There's a Tiger 2, the 53 TP, and a couple other things. So I see the T95 moving in, and he's going to be cover of sorts, in that he'll be able to punish people, and they'll be much less interested in coming up over top. And down he goes from the Pershing. That's a good kill, getting rid of the Hawk 12, but it gets me lit. So I got to dodge down here. The 53 TP actually took a shot at me. It looks like it was me anyway. So I'll come down here. This is where you see me get lit a second time. I actually said it was the first, but it looks like it's the second time. I'm just looking to find these guys, and I was wondering if I could get a shot. I'm so low, I don't quite have a shot there. Now I'm going to back up and see if I can sneak one through the trains here. Just can't quite get what I want. Actually, someone takes a shot. I think Deathman shoots at me right here. Yep, that was Deathman's shot. And then the artillery goes in, so I spent way too much time dicking around right there. And now we'll move up, and I need to get these guys lit. I want to help the T-95 Pershing and Bat Chat, 25 TAP. I think we were all a little bit surprised there were so many tanks back here. And Deathman now has flexed back, and now he's got all these shots that are coming up on us. I come up and over, put a shot on the 3805. Unfortunately, it doesn't do anything. So I'm trying to use this train Hulk right here, but I have a long reload. That's one of the disadvantages of this tank. I've also got my gunner damaged or hurt, so I need to fix him. I guess I didn't notice that as soon as I would have liked. And boom, I take a hit. TVP got a chunk of me. Now the T-95's coming up and over. And remember how much damage this T-95 takes. I mean, he goes over full hit points, right? And Deathman does a nice shot. There's a couple other shots. I think the artillery is, look at that. He comes out of it with 100-something hit points. Went over with all his hit points and then dead. Now I've got this 53 TP, so I've got to go ahead and, oh geez, my artillery goes in there. I am stunned. Down he goes from the Pershing. That helps me out. Remember, I was lit right about to here. And my team's got a great advantage, but they have a lot of trouble past this. So I'm just going to wait till I go dark. I'm going to head up and over. And I know the Centurion's there because I've seen the light. So I can see his last light right there. This is, I get spotted here by him coming up and over, so not enough camo to do that. I'm going to head for this ridge, try to minimize the possibility of artillery nuking me. And I do a little move here. Deathman saw me moving that way hard. I wait till I'm dark and I come back this away. Unfortunately, I get lit. So let's take a look at where that VTU was, because it's probably him that lights me as I come up and over. Yep. See, he was sitting right in there. As you recall, look at that. He's got a nice line of sight. I'm going to come up, and he sees me, and I got to back out. And I'm lucky I didn't take a hit from Deathman right there. So that's a good lesson for you. Somebody's actually clicking right there, so it looks like they know someone's there. I think he's sitting in there with the artillery as well. So whether it was actually the VTU or the artillery makes a little difference. I actually am able to come up here and not get spotted, I believe. I didn't want to go all the way into the bush, but I thought that was kind of interesting right there. So I was just far enough away where there was something blocking the VTU's view right there. And this is where my team is dark for a very long time, because I actually flex all the way back over to this side. You see the Rev and the, what is it we got there? The Rev and the Suma are right there. We've got the Leopard PTA has been there the entire game. The T-34 has been there the entire game. And then the Pershing is hanging out in that corner. We're actually in really good shape right here. That's what I talked about. This position is strong, but once it gets surrounded, there's a lot of crossfire. So really you want to try to break out of it. And I did mention they might have wanted to push the Leopard, but I'd forgotten that the T-34 was right there, so that would have probably been a little bit painful had they done that. So now Guido's going to come around and come up in here, try to cook off my binocs, see if I can't catch somebody being foolish. And this is where I make a huge, huge mistake. First of all, I knocked down a tree, so that was dumb. If someone was looking, then I'd push a tank. So I move around this way, and I'm thinking, you know what, I'm just going to go, and the initial plan was, when I started this, was to go through that divot and then along this ridge and just start lighting these guys up. But unfortunately, I go topside. That does not light me, so I swing around. I'm like, that's interesting. They must be down in the edge there. And then I come up and over, and then this gets me lit. So because I'm lit, I choose not to go up and over, and I should have used my speed. I stop, and that it was a massive mistake. All of a sudden, the TS5 shows up, and this kind of surprised me. He is covered a little bit by this Hulk, but he just comes up and over, and I got a bunch of tanks here. And it looks like somebody followed me during that recording. Actually, somebody's just followed me in real time. That's pretty funny. All right. TS5 comes up and over. I have all these guys here, and he ends up being able to kill me. I look for the track. The artillery takes 465 off of me. Actually, I thought it was the TS5, but he actually either misses or didn't get a shot. And really, I think what I did here is I actually gave him a shot by going this way. I didn't realize that until this point. I lost most of my hit points to the GW. He reloads or hadn't fired, and then he just tracks me, and down I go. Tracks and hits me, and down I go. And I've got 5,500 spotting, 951 damage. And we'll watch the rest of the game from what I'm watching here. So I'll start moving around. I was trying to figure that out. I'm like, how on earth did that just happen? Look at that. That TS5 is still alive, which is hard for me to understand. Hard for me to understand. What I should have done, as I said, was just come up and over and tucked up underneath this edge right here. Make it hard that if they want me, they got to come up and over and look for that shot. And I typed really because I just cannot believe with all those guns in the game, we didn't kill any of those guys. That was unbelievable. And the Pershing has made his move and died. I didn't note that, but he died earlier. Finally, the T-34 starts to slowly move up. The Leopard PTA starts to slowly move up. And you saw the rest of it after this, how this happened. We eventually get enough guys lit. And essentially, it comes down to those two artillery pieces and the damage they were able to do. Because, as you noted, or as you saw, most of my team kind of went one at a time instead of all together. It was a near-run thing. So anyway, I thought that was kind of interesting. We had a view from either side there. I wanted to show you that bush. It's a fantastic bush. And again, a plug for the Brit lights, which are some of the only lights that can get there. Things like the Hawk 12 or ELC even 90 can get there as well, but the bigger things like a Hawk 30 or an LT 432, they can't quite fit in that bush. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. That's it for Tactics Talk, and we will see you.